You can see that spring is in there. That's another important little situation. You gotta make sure that that's connected. And then when you go to run the cable, you gotta undo these 3 screws. And then there's this little tool that comes with it. It wasn't real easy to turn the motor with just this tool, so what I did was I clamped my vice grips on here, and then I put it on, and I used the vice grips to turn this. And so, I don't know, you start the chain out on the gearing system in there, and then you get that thing spinning, and it pulls the chain around, and then you bring the chain up from the other side. This is when the chain is not all connected. You have the master link disconnected, so that you have 2 ends of the chain, and you connect the 2 ends of the chain so as to make an infinite loop. And let me see if I can find where the I do not see the... Oh, there it is. Okay, I don't know how real well you can see that, but that's a master key to the chain, and how I usually get that off of there is I will hook a vice grip up onto one side of it, and then grab onto something with the other side of the vice grip, and then close the thing, clamp it so as to push this little key off of it that way, and I don't know, then the link should just come right out. Now, to get it all back together, put the link together, put the key on where it's down loose a little bit, and then do the opposite with the vice grips, which is to place the vice grips along this edge and then against something over here. Maybe like this little bolt coming out of here, or just whatever you can reach and grab onto. Okay, after you get the chain all hooked up and you're almost ready to take a ride, what you need to do is you need to get this thing on here, okay, to hold the chain so it's got less deflection. Okay, now when you go to put the chain on, or when you go to put this chain guide on, you should use these little rubber pieces to hold it in place so it doesn't slide at all. And then you get these bolts down real good, and I'm about to replace these with some lock nuts that I just got at the store because I keep having problems with the chain, so obviously something is not staying in place. So I think what I need to do is to go ahead and replace these with lock bolts, or lock nuts rather, and I think that will better hold, better keep this all in place. This right here I'm also going to replace with a lock nut, and that's the final part before you're ready to ride your bike. Is you push this way, and that will tighten up the chain, and you can feel the chain getting into a good tension. If it's not at a good tension, you might need to move this down a little bit, and then do this push out again. Okay, so you get this in position. You push this way, and then you tighten this down, and that's all there is to it. That should hold this in place. And I don't know, probably one of the most important things I had to do to get this chain to stay on here is to grind down these teeth, which I did with like a $5 drill bit from the hardware store that is intent to sharpen a lawnmower blade. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Oh yeah, this is another little thing you had to do to get this thing together is you must plug this little cap onto your spark plug. Oh yeah, and these wires are real easy. Black and blue, so blue to blue, black to black, and then you have let me see, this little yellow and the white strand I connected together, and the black strand is for ground, and that has come off as a result of my having lost my motor mount here, which is what I'm working on right now. I'm about to try to replace it. So, oh yeah, and then something else that's I comes even after is to go ahead and twist down the bolts on this gas can, which they connect real easy. Let's go right around the top post here. And then to get these cables bunched so they're not hanging all over the place. And probably like a plastic strip tie would be better for these cables than to have them underneath this whole thing, but I don't know, like I have them under and then wrapped around, and so they're kind of like tied off to themselves. But obviously that's not the ideal. It's just what I did. Final tip for getting this all together: if you're having problems with the chain derailing, take the back wheel to a bicycle store and have a professional true the wheel and ask them to get the spokes as tight as they can while maintaining the true. And I did exactly that, and I had good results. I wasn't able to get the chain to stay on there until I went to the bike store and had them professionally true it. And as soon as I did, the chain stayed on. All but twice it has derailed, and that happened as a result of this loosening up, which is that's a situation that I'm going to fix with these lock nuts. So that's pretty much it. That's how this little moped works, and I'll give you a little drive-by to I'll give you a drive-by while the camera's shooting me, and I'll show you this moped in action. Oh yeah, something else is this exhaust, which this exhaust has loosened up because these bolts are, these nuts are no good that they gave me with this kit. So I'm gonna replace these nuts with some lock nuts that I got up at the store, and I'll show you these lock nuts. So I'm replacing, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and replace these nuts that they gave me with this kit with these lock nuts in. That way I don't have to tighten these up so often. You're gonna update as to what I did with the motor mount. You can see I put these skateboard bushings in there. The pressure down on the motor mount is coming from the top here. That's where the weight of the engine is riding, is from the top. So I don't know, it's just it's held on by this nut on the bottom, which is a nylon washer, or not a nylon washer, a nylon lock nut. And so that's a slight improvement that I made on this motor mount, is to put the skateboard bushings on there. And on this motor mount, I used actually this piece of rubber right there is from my grips that were on my handlebars before I swapped them out for the grips from the kit. And so I just cut it right down the side, and then I slipped it in between the motor mount and this bar that's on my bike. It was also, I found out, very important to have rubber on the back side of the motor mount. Originally I had just this, and I still had this loosening of the nuts with the shaking issue, so I went ahead and I put this piece of rubber that came with the kit on the back side of this motor mount. So you can see that looks a little bit different than how I originally had it. And that's about it. Those are the modifications I've made since I made the last video about how I made this. So I figured I'd call your attention to those. It's very important that you get the shaking issue with the motor transmitting the vibration into your bike. It's very important to have that buffered with some rubber. Without the rubber buffer, or without the rubber buffer, there's a strong tendency for your bike to come apart. Just whatever piece, everything will just shake apart if you do not properly buffer the motor with the rubber to the frame. So that's really important.